Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Today, we're very fortunate to have with us on today's show Mr. Joe Baldelama. I hope I got that correct, but Mr. Joe is a very well-known person here in the United States of America. He's a psychologist and psychologist, and he's also the program manager for Alzheimer's Association. So stay tuned as we talk to Mr. Joe Baldelama about his profession, his career, and the services that his Alzheimer's Association offers.
For all of your forwarding and freight shipping needs, we at Trin Forwarding International are committed to product delivery. At Trin Forwarding, we have the much needed experience, professionalism, and due diligence in freight forwarding, shipping, and cargoes. We deliver with timeliness and precision. You can reach out to us at our Caribbean office in Trinidad and Tobago, telephone number 868-624-6250, or our Florida USA office at 305-887-9725.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, before we get into Alzheimer's and what your association, what it does, and the services you offer, tell us a little bit about your background. I always like to start with a person's background so our viewers worldwide would be able to have a better idea and who we're really talking to. You know what I'm saying? So tell us where you're from originally. Are you from Florida, other states, and etc.?
Actually, no. I'm from Nicaragua.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
You see?
that's where I was born, and my family moved here when I was probably about 5-6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I know has been developed here in the United States, and I have been fortunate enough that I had like a great support from my parents, always making sure that we get involved into a lot of different areas, not only in academia but also to be of help in the community.
Right.
So after I finished high school and stuff like that, I was very attracted to everything that has to do with psychology, and that's how I became my studies in psychology. So pretty much my whole background is based on behavioral psychology and neuropsychology. And then down the road, following the example of my little brother, I got a little bit into philosophy and theology.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much what my background is. So through my career, for several years, I was involved in academia with Nova Southeastern University.
Yeah.
But then I move on into profit world, getting involved with different organizations like the American Red Cross. There's an organization called Gift of Life, which is a bone marrow organization that arranges transfusions and
I always heard so much about Nicaragua. I met so many people, very nice people. I just gotta go that part of the world one day. Uh, so many people.
let me know,
here.
I'll tag along.
Good. So many people here in, especially Florida, from Nicaragua. Interesting. Now, tell us a little bit. We'll jump around here based on your conversation and what you're saying, so viewers worldwide can benefit. You mentioned a little while ago about bone marrow transplant. What do you all do?
No, well, that was an organization that I used to be part of. And one of the things that, we used to look for healthy donors. So whenever there is a need, not only the United States, but throughout the world, for somebody that actually needs a transfusion, we try to get a match for the person.
Okay. So how is that done? I know that's a pretty expensive thing. Only recently someone was telling me here about a person who needed to get a bone marrow transplant done, but it's so expensive in the United States that they were thinking of going abroad to get it. So what that organization provided that, or what was really happening?
Well, I do believe they arranged that, but the position that I used to have with them was just coordinator stuff in the community, getting different type of organizations to get involved and getting donors to get into the registry.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole process about the transfusion and how it's done and, everything that has to do with insurance payments and stuff like that, I'm not too familiar with that process.
Okay. So the full 9 yards of paying for the bone, the marrow transplant, etc. That's a whole different department. So
absolutely.
So hospitals and organizations had to pay for it as usual. But are you aware of any organizations that provide this as a service? I mean, as a gift, as some sort of 501c3 charitable organization that would help people to a point at a lesser cost or something to that effect?
Yeah, I do believe that this organization, Gift of Life, will do that. It's just a process that people need to get, I guess, on the list for transfusions and things like that. But I do believe that they can do that because, remember, it's a long process. They actually have to match based on DNA and all those different type of things. So it goes by numbers. So, from 1 to 9 to have a better results, I think somebody has to be at least on the 7 to 8 numbers,
Mm-hmm.
different aspects to be able and be prepared to have that transfusion.
Right. Okay, so what got you motivated to be involved in the Alzheimer's Association? Tell us how you got involved.
So one of the things that I always I've been very attracted to, based on psychology, is how the mind works. So the way our mind works, is just amazing. We know a lot about how different, how we develop, when do we get the best of information and things like that. But as we get older, our mind, based on different factors and things like that, start having some issues, and we don't really get the community involved, especially when we're talking about, the African American community, the Hispanic community. It's some sort of taboo when somebody's having some sort of mental illness or problems with the mind, and they get this stigma of somebody going crazy. So one of the things that really got me involved is I see the Alzheimer's Association are actually trying to overcome all those different barriers. So just to give you an example, the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through the advancement of research and to provide an enhanced care and support for all affected, and to reduce the risk of dementia through the promotion of brain health. So for me, that the mission statement is like, wow, I really want to get involved and make sure that wherever I go, whoever I talk to, they all are aware that there are many different things that can be done, not only from the preventive part, but getting people to get involved in studies. Sometimes you don't even have to take medications or anything like that. It's just get involved just to see, how your mental factions and your mental abilities are responding based on your age and things like that. So that got me. And then of course, the vision of the Alzheimer's Association, which is a world without Alzheimer's, that to me says it all. Yeah, it's like, wow. I want to get involved with that organization.
You just thought that it's good service and it's very beneficial for people.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the signs? What are some of the signs of Alzheimer's? If a person listening to this show want to know, well, because most of the time it's only after it happens that people realize that they were diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So someone listening to this show across the world, throughout the globe here, what are some of the signs that they can probably look out for to say, well, we are getting some signals here?
So it's important to also have this understanding. We through research and different things, we have developed something that is called the 10 warning signs and why early detection matters. But I want you to keep in mind that sometimes these signs doesn't necessarily mean that the person is having Alzheimer's or any other type of dementia. Sometimes can be because the person is stressed out, there are a lot of things happening. So I want to clarify that. So for example, one of the things that we see is when memory lost that actually start disrupting your daily life. Okay, keeping that in mind, think about challenges in planning or solving problems, things that you are used to, like going to the supermarket, getting a list of your groceries, what you have to do, and then being there, and all of a sudden you don't recall why are you there, what is that you're doing there. Those type of things, you have to start worrying. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. And when we say familiar tasks, it's like that. You every month you pay your bills, you pay your light bill, and all of a sudden you start forgetting. It can happen. Sometimes we miss doctor's appointments, things like that. But when it starts happening too repetitive, that it actually starts disrupting your daily life, that's when you really have to worry. One of the biggest signs is when people are having confusion with time and places. Meaning that sometimes somebody might be driving and you get to a certain place and all of a sudden like, what I'm doing here, you don't even recollect driving to that place. So this part, trouble understanding everything that has to do with visual images and spatial relationships. That's why when we have a conversation with physicians about somebody having this type of experience, some of the times it's better for the person if they start showing the real signs to kind of like stop driving, because that's where usually people get involved. I mean, if you're here in Florida, you see that all the time, that somebody was in the parking lot and instead of going back, they pull forward and they go into shopping places, and it's usually an elderly person having issues with that type of things. Another very, very familiar sign is when somebody has problem with speaking and words. So let's say we're having a conversation and all of a sudden I'm struggling to get my words out, or I cannot keep on with a conversation, like there is spaces in between, and I try to get back into the conversation and I don't find the words to keep doing that. Another thing is misplacing things, right? And losing the ability to research, to retrace our steps. For example, I forget where I put my keys all the time. All the time is happening. But then, after a while, I just say, well, I came in, I did this, here are my keys. When people are experiencing more severe problems with dementia or Alzheimer's, is you will put the keys in your place and you will never remember where the keys are.
So,
Those are
talking about that, I may just be smiling, but those points and hints or signs or symptoms of Alzheimer's. Now, many wives would think that their husbands got Alzheimer's from day one when they got married, because they're always misplacing their keys and they're forgetting where they're going, and oh my goodness. But that's just a joke. However, but these are some interesting symptoms
No,
because
and like I say, you have to keep in mind that sometimes, we tend to forget things because our mind is occupied in other more important things that, might be having stressful situations, dealing with family and other external things that will not allow us to keep track of different things. And one sign that is very, very interesting is the decrease of poor judgment. And the reason why is because Alzheimer's usually start attacking the frontal lobe of your brain, right? And when that start happening, that's what controls the way that you judge and do things. So sometimes, when people are in a certain stage, words, they just come out. They don't have the filter. They don't have the
Right.
filter.
that is
Somebody might be
interesting.
walking on underwear on the streets because the judgment is gone.
We got to go on a short break now. When we come back, we would really appreciate if you can continue letting us know some of these signs, because this is very important before a person is officially diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It's good for us to get some hints and some signs of symptoms so people can be aware. But in addition to that, when we come back, I would really appreciate if you can probably share with our viewers some of the things that a person can do, some of the things that a person can do to prevent Alzheimer's. I mean, hearing that you got Alzheimer's symptoms or signs is one thing, but being able to do something before it really gets in control of you, before it controls the person or takes over the person, I think it will be very, very interesting if a person knows what they can do to sort of prevent it, or just delay it if it's in the pipeline. But when we come back, we got to talk about that. So thank you very much, Mr. Joe, and I think it's really, really a pleasure to have somebody like you on this show talk about this issue. So to our viewers out there, we have been talking to the program manager for Alzheimer's Association, Mr. Joe Baldelamar. Stay tuned, and we will continue the discussion for the benefit of our viewers out there. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV. 24/7 online. Once more, it is an honor, it's a pleasure to have with us on today's show Mr. Joe Baldilamar, and he is the program manager for Alzheimer's Association. He's a psychologist, and it's interesting talking to a psychologist. Today, I think a lot of people need to talk to a psychologist. As soon as there is a little thing off, we say you need to see a psychologist. I love that. So welcome back to the show, Mr. Joe Baldilamar. Welcome back. I know that we spoke about getting into some of the things that a person can do sort of to prevent Alzheimer's. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but we put that in a hole a little bit, because talking about a psychologist, in addition to this being your career and your profession, being a psychologist, in addition to doing work with the Alzheimer's Association, in addition to being the program manager for the Alzheimer's Association, do you do other things as a psychologist?
Actually, no, because like I mentioned, I have dedicated myself just to do educational programmings and just bringing information into communities where there might be no little information about what Alzheimer's disease is or other dementias. And so the educational part is what I really enjoy doing, especially when you bring awareness to different parts that people might never have heard about. Okay, I can take certain steps, I can do this, I can all these different things, all these community resources that we have. All the educational program is not only for the general public, but like when somebody's actually a caregiver, we provide specific educational courses for caregivers.
Yeah,
So
the reason why I
very
asked that question is because I just thought maybe you do private counseling or things like that. But no, I just thought I'll ask you. You never could tell if there are people who are viewing this show and are interested in getting some kind of psychological help, then they can contact you. But right now, you are concentrating in putting your energy into the Alzheimer's Association services. So, are there any other symptoms you would like to share with our viewers before we get into some of the things that a person can do to prevent Alzheimer's?
Absolutely. So, like we ended up on the decrease poor judgment, but we also have something very interesting with, when the person are experiencing these symptoms, they usually withdraw from any type of social activities or from work. And the reason why is because, as I mentioned before, there is a lot of stigma regarding Alzheimer's. And also people feel kind of like withdraw because they might don't know how to react in different type of situations, or they might feel uncomfortable and even ashamed of going through this process of not remembering things. And of course, one of the major things that you can notice in somebody developing these symptoms is the changes in the mood and personality. And what we always try to make sure that people understand, especially those, like family members or very close friends, is that keep in mind that when the person starts reacting to that, it's not necessarily the person, doesn't like or stop loving the person next to him. It's just the disease that is taking control of the mind.
Okay. And like around what age do
So
people
believe
start
it or
seeing
not,
these signs?
believe it or not, throughout the research and all the statistics and everything, is usually Alzheimer's is usually developed in an old age, meaning usually people after 75 years old. So you start seeing signs, things like that. But in the past 5 years, you have seen an increase on people younger, people in their 40s and 50s. developing Alzheimer's, the study continues, the research continues to try to pinpoint and see why these things are happening.
And that was going to be my next question, is that, yes, before we get into some of the things that can prevent it, what are some of the things that can cause it?
Well, you have a lot of different type of things. So one of the things that can cause Alzheimer's is old age. That's the number one.
Would stress have anything to do with that? Too
It
much
does. It's
stress?
part of it. Absolutely. So, when you think about different things that are not controllable by us, like, for example, a lot of people think that Alzheimer's might be passed from one generation to the next generation. It can increase the chances, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the person is going to develop Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just to have a peace of mind, So things that can cause, we have issues with high blood pressure, diabetes, the lack of education has been shown that, sometimes people might develop Alzheimer's because of not many years of formal school, things like that, not being social. So those type of things are things that you can keep in mind when it comes to Alzheimer's disease and other type of dementias, because, I always like to explain that Alzheimer's is just one of the dementias out there. And I always try to give the example of like cancer. You have cancer is general name, but under cancer, you have colon cancer, you have lung cancer, all these different type of cancer. So dementia is just the big umbrella. Under dementia, we have Alzheimer's disease, which is the most known type of dementia. You have something that is called Lewy body disease, vascular dementia, mixed dementia, and even dementia because of Parkinson's disease. So all these things, people have to keep in mind. And when it comes to the preventive part, there are certain things that we can do to at least try to prevent, because another thing that is very important to keep in mind is that once that the person has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, there is no going back. Once that you are diagnosed with Alzheimer's, you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and unfortunately, until this day, there is no cure for Alzheimer's.
Wow, that is sad. That is very, very, very sad. Oh my! Oh, wow, that is very deep and very sad, and that's
also
why we need to have some hints on what can prevent it.
Correct. And let's also keep in mind that even though that there is no cure, not every single person is going to experience the disease the same, right? It's not like you're going to go through all these 10 different signs just one by one. No, some people might show 2-3 different signs. Somebody, when they actually get an actual diagnosis of Alzheimer's, they might have been experiencing the disease already for a couple of years. And not everybody's going to go through the same process, because it's 3 different stages. You got the early stage, mid stage, and then of course the late stage of Alzheimer's disease. So some people might go from the early stage all the way down to the late stage in a couple of years. Some people might develop the first stage, and then when they go to the second stage, 6-7 years might have passed by. It all depends on all types of different things, like how healthy the person has been with his life, things that they taking care. So it's very important to keep that also in mind, that when somebody is diagnosed with a disease like Alzheimer's, you have to keep in mind that not everybody is going to go through the same process. Everybody experiences it from a very differently.
So, I was just thinking, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not in the Alzheimer's Association, but, this talk show definitely would help people, viewers worldwide, to benefit, to learn, to talk to their loved ones that may have signs of Alzheimer's, and they can give you a call and contact your association and see how your services can benefit them. So before we get into some of the services that Alzheimer's Association offers out there, and who can call you and what they can call for and what services you have to offer, is there anything like reading can help prevent it? I don't know, writing, things like that. The point I'm getting at, by trying to use the brain, because you know the famous saying, if you don't use it, you will lose it. So if a person uses their brain a little more, that's the point I'm saying. If the person uses his or her brain a little more, would that help to prevent the forgetfulness? And I'm saying this in my own analysis here, that a person gets up in the morning, and I've seen that, I've read that too much of sleeping kills the brain. When I say kills it, it slows it down, it gets it. I mean, you can know that if a person has fallen asleep, then you stop thinking, you don't know what is going on, and you go into that whole scenario. But the more you use your brain, it's the more active you are, more creative you would be. So when if a person uses their brain, that's the point. Is there anything in the Alzheimer's world that if a person starts writing poems and writing letters, because we're in a world today that people don't write anymore. They're not using their brain. Everything is touch a button, touch a phone, touch this. So it's less usage of the brain, the ability of the thinking power. It's everything, it's at the finger touch. So I don't know. Tell me, is there anything like that, things that you can do?
So I'm really glad that you asked that question, and the reason why is because there is something. We actually have a program that is called Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. And this is divided into 4 different sections that we touch in order to have a healthy brain. One is, of course, diet and nutrition. Number 2 is physical exercise. Number 3 is cognitive exercise, which is what we're talking about, the reading, everything that has to do with learning probably a new language, different things like that, because it has been shown that people that speak more than 2 languages, has developed less Alzheimer's. Also, the last part is the social engagement, being active socially. Whether you're a member of your mosque or your church or synagogue, you have to have that constant connection with people, and being able to share ideas and things like that. So your brain is always working. When we're talking about sleep, very important. We need to get 8 hours of sleep. Some people say, oh no, I'm sleeping 3 hours and I'm fine, I'm sleeping 4 hours. No, the body needs 8 hours of good solid sleep in order not to only to regenerate the cells in the body, but also to keep the mind active. Let's keep in mind that what Alzheimer's does is that it attacks our brain cells, our neurons, destroy our neurons, and we don't regenerate neurons. Whatever we have when we get to an adult life, that's what we have for life. So like you say, if we don't use it, we lose it. So it's very important to keep a constant engagement, do different physical activities that you actually enjoy, going for a walk, riding a bike, those type of things. And when we talk about healthy diet and nutrition, has been shown there is a diet called the Mind diet, which is a mix of the Mediterranean diet with the DASH diet. So they combine this. So, high in vegetables and legumes, everything that is green is good. less fat, less fried food, and things like that. It will help. It will help because we have a saying: "What is good for your heart is good for your brain." Reason why? Because as the heart keeps healthy, keeps pumping that blood that flows to your brain and oxygenates everything. That's how you get all that nutrients and everything else that goes into your brain. So it's very important to keep that in mind. And when we talk about reading, of course, reading and specifically being aware of your reading. Like if you're committed, you're an avid reader, anything you can read. Even getting online to do maybe an educational program. That is nowadays you have all these virtual tours of museums, great places that keeps your mind active because you actually visualize and you are also connecting with other people and things like that. So it's very important to do that in order to keep ourselves healthier and try to prevent not only think about Alzheimer's disease, but all these cardiovascular diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes, problems with the joints and things like that. It will help tremendously if you follow those different quadrants.
Interesting.
So as I say, diet and nutrition, cognitive training, and you have the part of social engagement, and of course, being aware that of the things that you actually enjoy doing.
Right. That is really interesting, and that is something that is lacking in today's lifestyle very much. But we got to go on a short break. When we come back, maybe we could get into some of the services that the Alzheimer's Association offers and how people can get in contact with your organization, how they can benefit from your organization, and what they can benefit from, what services you all have to offer, etc. So to our viewers out there, please stay tuned. When we come back, we will continue this conversation with Joe from the Alzheimer's Association. He's a psychologist and he is the program manager for Alzheimer's Association here in Florida, the USA. So until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Once more, it is a pleasure to have with us on today's show Mr. Joe Baldelamar, who is the program manager for Alzheimer's Association. We have benefited a lot, and I'm sure that our viewers so far, they have been benefiting a lot from what Joe has to say about Alzheimer's. So welcome back to the show, Mr. Joe Baldelamar.
Thank you.
Good. So before we get into some of the services that your organization offer, and that is very interesting. I think that's the whole key thing here, so people can contact you all, and organizations, individuals, institutions can contact your Alzheimer's Association to benefit from your services. But we mentioned social engagement, and that is so interesting. I mean, I think that a lot of people they know that eating healthy foods would be beneficial to the brain and the heart. It's just unfortunate that they probably don't eat the healthy food. And they're supposed to eat healthy food for the brain and the heart, etc. We all agree with physical engagement, and physical exercise will help the muscles and prevent deterioration, etc. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, with all the lifestyle in the world nowadays, without the pandemic, people were already social distancing. People live a social distancing life. They social distance automatically. They are all about themselves, by themselves, and they don't believe in too many community involvement and community social engagement. Then the pandemic came by and made it worse. Already the pandemic, the COVID-19 is bad, but it made it worse with social engagement. So that kept people closed in closed doors. Yes, they're all working from home on the computers, on their phones. So now they have no more co-workers. They're not interacting with people personally. So it's less engagement of the brain, less engagement of talking to people, communication skills start deteriorating. I don't think people realize all these things happen. I don't think from a technological point of view it's good to stay home and work. But what about the social engagement? And you just mentioned that as one of the things that can help prevent Alzheimer's disease, because people need to get social engagement that uses the brain. It uses your eyes. You got to hear people talk. You got to talk. You got to hear people talk. You look at people. You recognize people. Your brain thinks. You get that full engagement. What are some of the engagement that people should get involved? I know you mentioned a few, like yes, the church and whatever. What some things you can recommend to our viewers?
So, volunteering in your community is great. If you have the chance to do some sort of volunteer, maybe with an organization, with a local school, trying to read to the kids and things like that. Even, because like you mentioned, through the pandemic, based on studies, we have seen a lot of decline on mental health across the world, not only in the U.S., but we've seen that mental health decline. And what happened is, because like you mentioned, even before, people were kind of like isolated, through the pandemic got worse. So of course we're going to see that decline. So we are very resilient. And what happened is that we come up with all these different type of things. There are families that there might be sharing once or twice a week. They do like a game night, even through Zoom or Google Meet or any type of media platform that you can use to share and view your family or your community. A lot of the local non-profit organizations that deal with volunteers are actually doing the same thing. They have nights where all the volunteers log in and they share ideas and things like that. So just to keep that social engagement is really good. I mean, now that we are seeing again an increase on cases of COVID, we're going back into this virtual world, but still there are things that you can still do. You can still reach out to your local organizations and see, hey, do you need, somebody to volunteer? How can I get involved? Do you have any type of educational programs that we can do online and share with the family, or have a group of people sitting watching this educational program is participating, asking questions, and all these type of things. So it's very important to keep that in mind.
Yes. So what we're saying is, even though there is the shutdown to a certain point with the pandemic, at least people can use technology to communicate and do some social engagement, etc. Well, before time goes out on us, could you share some of the services that your association, Alzheimer's Association, offers? What do you do? What can people call you for? Or how can people benefit, etc.?
Absolutely. So we have something that we call our helpline. It's a 24/7 helpline where people can call and connect with trained, knowledgeable staff. We're talking about master level clinicians that will be able to talk about, any type of emotional assistance, community programs and service, dementia-related education, emotional support. So this is something that we call care consultations, and we provide help in your preferred language. So keep this in mind. We have, I think it's about 200 different languages that we can provide assistance through this helpline, which is 1-800-272-3900. So that number you can call anytime. It's 24/7. Doesn't matter where you are.
Or they
Also,
can go online and just Google Alzheimer's Association.
That too.
And
But,
they get your
if somebody,
information.
if somebody wants to have that one-on-one contact over the phone and actually, speak to someone, regardless of, if it's for emotional support, if they're having a crisis and things like that, they can call that number.
Mhm.
Also, we have offices in communities nationwide, and our programs, of course, with this COVID stage right now, we don't do face-to-face right now, but we have support groups, educational programs, and everything is geared toward informing and empowering individuals that are on the early stage of the disease.
Right.
Our programs are completely free, and they're available also in multiple languages. So, when you call that toll-free number, you can also ask about what type of programs are you doing and things like that. As I say, we do a lot of the support.
So can organizations, churches contact your organization so their members can benefit from a group point of view?
Absolutely. So just to give you an idea, we have several organizations that have become like national partners.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is that we develop series of programs, ones that are for general public, and then we have programs that are specifically for caregivers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we just provide a Zoom link, and we have, guest speakers, and we talk about the different things that are happening that are affecting that particular community. So that's, like as I mentioned, our support programs are there for, whenever people are facing difficult times, they need a good support network, place that you can turn for advice and encouragement that might help you feel socially connected and give a sense of belonging and purpose. So we
Right.
try to do that with our support groups. And as I mentioned, I keep always saying this, our educational programs, we say that Alzheimer's is a journey, not a destination.
Mm-hmm.
So when we try to educate people, it's about, the things that are impacting your life, and those that are being, diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or other type of dementia. It's about empowering them and to give them control over their life, because that's important to keep that in mind. So, our programs, just to give you an idea what we can offer, is we have a program that is called Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia, living with Alzheimer's for people with Alzheimer's disease. The early stage engagement programs are also, great, because we have support groups that actually people that have been diagnosed attend with their loved ones, so they can share ideas on how they're dealing with the situation, and and also empower others, and do all these tips. We have a whole bunch of tools that are online, and as I keep mentioning, everything that we offer is completely free. you're never going to get charged. They're going to ask for anything. So we have like virtual libraries, and there is a program that is called Safety, which is, the early stage of disease, the age that how can people still live an independent life?
Right.
So, those type of things, and, the many, like the potential safety issues to consider, as I mentioned way before, such, driving, making your home safe, making sure that you're taking medication. So that's part of our safety program. So,
Right.
And then of course, the big thing for me until this day is, making sure that whenever somebody's diagnosed with this, Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, that they are going to overcome the stigma, because that's usually the primary concern of people living with Alzheimer's and their care partners.
Yes, it can create a psychological effect on the minds of people.
Correct.
So at least your association would be able to help them have a better understanding if their loved ones and near ones are going through that sort of experience. Then your organization would be able to help them through it. Well, that's wonderful. And you know what? We are out of time, and you just let me know. You got a couple seconds what you would like to share with our viewers before we conclude the program.
Well, I would like to share, like I said, we have many different programs. As a matter of fact, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about training your brain, we're going to have a beautiful webinar that is going to take place on March the 31st. I believe it's a Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be more than happy to share the link with you. And also, people can call that toll-free number to get the information and how to register. But it is going to be live, so you can ask your questions, interact with our presenters, and you're going to learn a little bit more about healthy living for your brain and body.
Good. Well, that sounds interesting. And at the end of the day, they can check out Alzheimer's Association. Just Google it, and they would be able to get whatever information and services your organization offers. And I think that's it. So it was really, really beneficial to have you on the program. And I'm sure that our viewers would have benefited a great deal, and they would be able to look for some of these signs in their loved ones and near ones and elders around them, and they can contact you and benefit. So that is the purpose of this talk show on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online, to have people, experts like you, come on and share your services, your experience, your knowledge with our viewers worldwide. So thank you very much again, Mr. Joe Baldelema. And for our viewers out there, Mr. Joe Baldelema is a psychologist. He's the program manager for the Alzheimer's Association here in Florida, the U.S.A., United States of America. And it was indeed a pleasure having him with us on the show. We learned a great deal for him. So always stay tuned to Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
9/11, there has been a great fear of Islam.
We need Muslims, I always say, to speak up in this country.
Much of our Islamic community is perceived to be insular.
Most Americans have never met a Muslim or are not aware of having met a Muslim.
Most people don't have enough education in terms of what the entirety of Islam represents.
It's very easy to hate someone or to put stereotypes on people that you've never interacted with.
But do you think if Muslims were more integrated in society, in America, in the United States of America, then there would have been less anti-Muslim scenario?
I think it's even more important that our clergy speak up. They are, after all, the moral force in our community.
You see, the Islam that is celebrated is one which opens its doors.
Having this type of dialogue in terms of a community outreach, or
Something that Muslims have to do is go out just like you do and inviting non-Muslims to the iftar, that and you do a lot of speaking to mixed groups.
We have to change the language from us versus them to a language of we.
I believe that if we can stand together against the forces of hatred and be unified in this country, then we can do wonderful things.
Bringing us together to enhance the beauty of humankind.
I think religion can be such a powerful force for unity.
Of course.
We've made it into this powerful force for disunity.
Keep trying to understand each other and care for each other and keep building a world community, because I believe that's what God wants for us all.
And I'm in their mosques and they're in my temple, and it's been a phenomenal experience. I've had a very warm and welcoming experience from all the brothers and sisters in the community.
That every human being is either your brother in faith or brother in humanity.
In Arabic, the word is lita'arafu, so that you will learn to understand one another.
And this is the truth of what it should be. You see, this is why I am so pleased to come here today, to support the work of Alhikmat.
The kind of intolerance and the violence that we see across the globe is rooted in ignorance, which we can overcome by teaching.
Yes.
Also rooted in fear, which we can overcome by experiencing, where we can actually live in each other's presence. It's rooted in this myopic kind of my way only, rather than this understanding that maybe all of us have more in common, and at the core of who we are is this truly global family that we belong to.
I'd like to say what a joy and pleasure it is to have Shaikh Shafayat as my friend, as my teacher, as my co-worker in the vineyard of Allah, God, where we work together to make this world a better place, to do God's work, to do the work which we are commanded to do as human beings.
Bengal Trading, importer, exporter, wholesaler of Bangladeshi Indo-Pak groceries and spices. We specialize in various authentic Indian masalas, juices, flours, rices, and spices. We offer exclusive brands as Ocean Pearl, Shan, National, Tilda, Himani, and many, many more. We're located at 36B Caroni Savannah Road, Charleville, Chaguanas, Trinidad and Tobago. You can call us at 473-4676 or call 476-3117. Email us at wahabdk@gmail.com.